Yo, JD here, Throttle this, and we are back on F1 2021 as always. And we are here today to commentate on a league race, which I just can't even remember last time I did a video on a league race. It's been a very, very long time, and I have to say it just feels so good to be racing competitively again against good people in a good league, which leads me to say a huge thank you to BRS, which stands for British Racing Series. They invited me to join the Saturday League, which runs at 7:30 each weekend, which I do stream now. And again, thank you so much to everyone who tuned into that. That was a way above my expectations, and
didn't feel like a 24/8.
Honestly, just talking like over this, it just feels so weird, and this is my passion. This is what I absolutely love to do. I love to do this pretty much more than anything else, and I've been doing this for the last 10 years. And to some people that might be weird or silly or anything, but to me, I just absolutely love to race, to compete against people, to bring out the best of myself and others. And yeah, I know to some people that doesn't mean a thing, but to me it does mean everything, and it's helped me a lot throughout my life. And to be doing this again,
that's pretty good.
It just feels, I just can't describe how good it feels. And again, a huge thank you to them for the invitation. They've been running a league for a long time. The people in the league I've known for quite a long time as well. I've been racing them in 5-lap races online for many years, so I know that they're very clean and fast, because we do have a few very, very fast drivers in here. And that's the beauty of league racing as well, is that sometimes when you join a new league and other people don't know who each other are, you always discover new talents, new stars who are going to be the stars of the future. And there's definitely a couple in here. And again, all I want to do is just race, and I've just really, really missed this. So we're at round 1 for the BRS, a full season calendar, full qualifying. So we did the Q1, did a pretty nice lap to get through in the Q1, and now I'm on the mediums here. And the ones to look out for in this league are Noah72. He's a very, very fast driver. I'm not sure if he's on the controller or wheel, doesn't really matter, but he's just very fast. Radionics as well. Scarlett and MBSFN, Kimmy. There's a good 3 or 4 drivers who are seriously fast, and I think a lot of them are more like myself, where they're better suited to the race. So it's going to be very, very interesting for sure. You can see we got through into Q3 on the mediums, did the fastest medium time, so that was very good. So this is my first lap with the soft tire. Radion says a 0.7. We come through here and we just make a... That's the first time that's happened to me driving around this track in the practice, so that was a little bit weird. And with the tires now, with the tire selection, you don't really get choice between the hard balance or the softs, so you have to run the same tires. So that means I only have 1 set of tires left for this final run. So this is all or nothing now. I mean, currently haven't even set a time yet, so I'm last. So I actually need to get a decent time on the board if I want to be on pole, which was definitely the aim. My PB was a 0.4. I feel a 24.2 is very possible, but I would have been very happy with a 4 or a 5. Anything less than that, I wouldn't have been particularly happy. But going through this first sector, it's a 0.3. Radionics does a 0.5, so that's actually a very fast time. But I felt quite good for that first sector, but the time, well, looking at it now, because I couldn't look at it at the time, wasn't actually that amazing. So we definitely have a little bit of work to do. Coming through this double left-hander, you don't want to hit that curb. Just wasn't committed enough going through there, and I definitely lost a good 10th or more on the exit of that. The brake marker board was missing, so I didn't quite hit that as much as I wanted to. Had a couple stabs at the steering wheel, which is not really ideal. Going through this corner, I was a little bit hesitant because of the previous lap, so not as aggressive as I typically would be. And it's a 3.7 middle sector, which is not setting the world on fire. There's no purple sector so far, so I knew I wasn't on track for pole right now. So I'm going to try everything through this last corner, but you can see overall it's just not a very committed, aggressive lap. And coming across the line, it's a 24.6, which I was actually quite surprised
Good lap.
that was the time, but it wasn't a very good lap in the end. Radionics was on pole, but I believe Noah actually slotted in between us, so we're not on the front row, we're on the second row, in third, a 10th off, very, very close. And even if I did a 0.5, still would have been a tough ask to get pole. So around here seems other socials, a high 24 was quite quick, so the pace is actually quite fast from these two up ahead, which was, in practice, they weren't doing those kind of times. So we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here to get underway. The league racing season F1 2021, trying to get a good start. We are on the mediums, but Noah, he got through Q2 on the soft, so I did think he'd maybe be at a disadvantage, but that has helped him for the start. He's got into the lead straight away, been squeezed a little bit, just making sure we maintain this position as we do very nicely. And I think you can tell by the length of this video, this is going to be quite a lengthy one. So if you do like a lot of raw footage and you do like the league races to be long in the highlights, then please let me know. Otherwise, I will make it shorter. But I'm just going to try and offer as much insight as I can when I do these races as well. So right here, I'm just pretty relaxed right now. I'm just making sure I'm going to stay in the DRS of Radionics, which I felt pretty confident I should be able to do. But at the moment, you can see Noah absolutely gone on the soft tyres. And this was a little bit of a insight, because on this game, I said before,
Softs look really quick.
as I just say, yeah, the softs,
I hope they go off.
Yeah, they definitely need to go off, because on this game, definitely tyre wear is not as bad in this game. Same with the tyre temps as well, because on last game, mediums, if I was in this position on mediums on 2020, then if that was Noah in the lead, it'd be pretty much game over. There's no way he would be able to probably win this race, because you'd have so much fresher hard tyres, and you probably get a little bit of an overcut when he pits for the hard tyres. And the softs really only lasted about 6, maybe to 8 laps or 9 laps at an absolute push, but you'd just be very slow. But in this game, they don't really seem to lose actually that much pace, so maybe starting the mediums wasn't particularly the best idea in this case. But no, we're not panicking for now. We're just going to make sure that gap doesn't extend even more, as I'm being harassed a little bit by MSN behind, who again is a very fast driver. So got to make sure we keep this position, and just trying to pressure Radionics, just try and keep the pace up, try not to let that gap go out anymore, because the gap is over 2 seconds at this point. But we're coming on to the end of lap 3. The gap is coming down ever so slightly, as Radionics looks like he's pushing quite hard, because he does a 29.1. So I think this is starting to already be a little bit of the crossover point where the softs are not going to have any benefit in their performance at this stage. So you can see that gap is stabilizing. You can see it says Noah is retired from the session, which is a classic Codemasters glitch, as we have a safety car which seems to be triggered at a pin drop on this game.
Safety car can't make it.
And I had a bit of a dilemma. Do I pit or not? And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to stay out, because the tyres are just very
you can make it to the end.
good at this stage. And if I could get a lot of cars between myself and them, I didn't think the Haas would be able to make it to the end from here particularly comfortably. Because I had seen in some other social races, people pitted like lap 9 and they had the tyre wear indicator on the last few laps. So I think fresher tyres is quite powerful in this game. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stay out. I'm going to try and create as much gap as I possibly can, because I believe Radionics and Noah, they're in about 6th or 7th. So I've got a good 3 to 4 cars between ourselves. I thought, you know, I'm going to try and create gaps. So I caught Robin a little bit napping here to try and extend the gap, and he is my teammate as well, so it's actually quite important to actually stay ahead of him. But we're just going to try and extend this gap as much as possible. So we're just going to give it absolutely everything, try and extend this medium stint for as long as I possibly can. And you'll be able to see we're just trying to get up this DRS zone, which I think we're about to do on this lap. And you can see the gap is almost on 1 second. So just trying to give it everything going through into this corner. On the exit, do we make it go up to a second? Yes, we do make it go up to 1 second. So we've already done that job there. But I was just keeping an eye on where Noah and Radionics are. Because I think
flags everywhere.
Radionics has gone on the hard and Noah has actually gone on the medium, which there's no way he can make it to the end of the race from there. As you can see, Noah is in P5 now. So he's got a 3.7 second gap behind. So we both need to pit again as the virtual safety car now comes out now, which I'm not sure why that actually came out, but it has come out and it's staying out for a very long period. This is a very, very long virtual safety car here. But if you look above, it says the virtual safety car is ending. My screen is so close to me, I didn't even notice that change. So I'm just looking at the top right, the delta, because I've got a big screen very close and I didn't even see that. So that's something I need to change on my screen, because I didn't even notice that the text actually changed to the virtual safety car ending. So I haven't lost too much time there. I probably lost about half a second. And quite importantly, Robin's actually managed to get in the DRS zone. So that's a little bit annoying. That means we're going to have to push a bit more. You can see the DRS is enabled. And he is going to be in this DRS zone at the end of this straight. So that means I'm not going to have as smooth running as I would have liked. And Noah is actually going to be a little bit closer to me. So you can see he's up to 4th now. 1.8 seconds behind. Does the fastest lap, or has got the fastest lap of this race here. As my teammate decides to pit actually very early. And now Noah has been released into 2nd place on those much fresher mediums. So, as I said, fresher tyres around this game is actually very, very powerful. Extremely powerful. So, I predict that I'm not really going to be able to keep him out of this DRS zone. You can already see he's under 1 second here. So, there's not really going to be too much I can do. I'm just going to try and make it as difficult as I possibly can. So, got to be a little bit careful on the ERS as well. I only got about half because I was trying to push to get out of the DRS zone of my teammate a little bit more than I needed to. And you also may notice that the fuel is very high. And you're probably wondering why I'm not putting it into rich or anything. That's because you can't actually change the fuel in this race. And from testing, overfueling doesn't really add that much lap time at all. It's probably better to overfuel a little bit, be a bit cautious, rather than underfuel and then lose everything. So it doesn't really affect it too much, and you can't change it either. But you can see my tyre wear is approaching like the mid 40s at this point here, and I was thinking about stretching it to lap 20 and maybe go on softs, but the problem is that he's on the mediums and he could pretty much undercut me at any time and probably go for another set of mediums. So he actually does a 28.5, we do a 29.5, so that shows the difference in pace at the moment, with the benefit of the DRS, with those fresher tyres, and with him having pace. He's a very, very fast driver, which I know a lot of people probably haven't heard of. But as I said before, that's the beauty of league racing. Every game, everywhere you go, you always discover new talent, and he has definitely got some very good pace here. So coming towards the end of that 14, I decided to actually box now, because I really didn't want him to undercut me, because I was predicting that he was going to go for the soft tyre.
Might try and stretch it to softs.
As I just say there, because I thought his tyres were going to be in quite good condition. He's probably not going to lose that much time, because the hard tyres are not as good tyres as the mediums, and his are relatively fresh.
Make it to softs.
He's not really going to lose much time. I don't think I'm going to undercut him that much. So you're about to see here, I'm going to push pretty hard on these opening laps to see if I can just undercut him as much as I can, and just try and pressure him into coming in earlier than he would have liked, as I'm coming out behind my teammate there. Luckily, he doesn't have DRS on the car up ahead, and he's going to let us go. So we have much fresher tyres than him, so he decides he's not going to fight too hard. So that's very, very nice of him. Actually very crucial for my race, because if I was stuck behind him there, then I would have lost a lot of time in this lap to Noah. That's for absolutely sure. So I'm going to be pushing as hard as I can.
His tyres don't feel very good.
As you're about to see, I say my tyres don't feel very good, but you're about to see in this next lap, we pull with Lewis Hamilton where we just say our tyres are not good, but we end up doing the fastest lap of the race. So, because I'm just going to be pushing as hard as I can now, because I want to try and undercut Noah as much as I can, and just also force him to come into the pits early. If he can see I'm lapping quite a lot faster than him, then maybe that might entice him to come into the pits early instead of instead of going long for the softs. That's really what I didn't want to do. If he went out long for the softs, then I think we could be in big trouble, because he's going to be very, very fast towards the end of this race. But there's still a lot of people who haven't pitted. Radionics at this point I thought was in the lead of the race, so that's what I'm assuming right now. And there's quite a lot of other people who pitted for the hards who are not coming into the pits again. So we've actually got a lot of work to do in this race, and I was doubting myself that is this the right strategy at this point. But I was convinced that the hards would be in a very, very bad condition at the end of the race. So no, I'm pushing as hard as I can now.
This is the right strategy or not.
As you can hear, I'm saying exactly that as we go through into this corner.
My tyres would be too burnt out by the time I got to lap 20 or something.
Yeah, and I didn't extend it myself to that 20, because the mediums, I think I would have just lost so much time to Noah. I think he would have got out of my DRS. My tyres would have just been so slow, and then he could have just pitted and come out ahead of me 3 or 4 seconds on the softs as well, and it's going to be very hard to close him down. So that's why I decided to pull the trigger a little bit early, to try and tempt him to come into the pits and just try and undercut him by as much as possible. And that feeling I was doing at this stage. So we did 28.3, fastest lap of the race, so we've definitely gained some time on him overall. So coming through to lap 18 now, Noah is actually in the pits, and he's actually gone for a set of mediums, because I don't think he had any fresh softs, so he didn't want to stretch it out, and maybe doing that fastest lap has actually really forced him to go into the pits. So really, I did want him to pit here. I didn't want him to go for the softs, because I think the softs just would have been too strong for me. So I still felt we had a race on our hands here, and we're only in 6th place. So there's guys up ahead. I don't know who needed to pit or who was going to stay out. So I'm still pushing as hard as I can. But you can see Noah on these mediums. I think they're fresh mediums as well. I know it's going to be no problem for him to overtake me. So coming off the exit here, I decided to actually use a bit of the overtake, which I don't really know why I was doing that. I think in the moment I thought maybe I could keep him behind for another lap, but with the DRS it's really going to be pretty impossible, as Humonic actually sets the fastest lap of the race. I'm not sure if he's on the softs or not, but here is really important, because I need to stay with him on these opening laps, because these are going to be the laps where the difference in performance is going to be the highest between the tyres. And if he gets out my DRS zone, then I think he's just going to pull away. So you can see the gap has gone up to 7 tenths here. It's absolutely crucial that we stay in this DRS zone. If we don't stay in this DRS zone, then there's no way that we're going to regain this position, because I felt like the mediums, especially after my first stint, they were generating a fair amount of wear quite quickly. And the hards are usually a slow tyre, but they're a very consistent tyre that actually gets faster and faster as the race goes on. So I was hoping that his tyres would deteriorate and I can just hang on, and then towards the end of the race there'll be a crossover point where the hards are actually going to become the faster tyres. So that's what I'm really hoping for at this stage of the race. But we are catching some people up ahead who looks like they're going to stay out to the end of the race here. So SRT Toro 14, you can see we're actually catching him very quickly. But this is just an example of a typical lap where I really needed to stay in his DRS. So you can see we're actually using overtake coming off the exit of this corner, because we need to hit that detection point before the double left. And I started to feel every lap that the performance was just getting closer and closer. So I'm just trying to stay with him, trying to save as much ERS as I can, but not make the mistake of just thinking about saving the ERS. I have to be in his DRS zone. If he gets out of my DRS zone, then I think it's just going to be very, very hard to get back in it. So you can see again, using the overtake here, it doesn't look like he has a lot of ERS, because I was actually catching him quite a bit in a straight line coming off these corners, which says to me that he's actually not using the overtake. So we're using a little boost again.
I saw his red light flashing last lap, so. And
then you just hear me say there that his red light was actually flashing last lap. So I know he's actually very low on the ERS. So he's been pushing very hard himself. As we now come up to SRT Toro, someone's actually pitted. So we are in P4 here. And the leader, I think it's AJ Drifts, because I think Radionics might have disconnected, or he might have had an incident, which I was unaware of at this stage. I presumed it was Radionics in the lead here, as Noah has actually overtaken the Alfa Romeo, which is a little bit problematic, because if I can't get past the Alfa quickly, that's going to allow Noah to get out of the DRS zone, and again, it's going to be very, very hard to get back within it again. So coming off this corner, I really need to be as close as I possibly can, but we don't get a particularly great exit here. Using the overtake, then we turn it off early because I realize I'm not going to be anywhere near close enough to re-overtake this Alfa Romeo. But you can see he's actually closing in very quickly on Noah here. So coming through here, it's crucial that I need to get past him ASAP. So he makes a little bit of a mistake. So we tried to go on the racing line. I don't think he's going to pick up too much of a fight, and that was a godsend gift. We really did need it. That was absolutely perfect. So we are just on the border of 1 second between myself and Noah here. So we really, really need to stay within this DRS zone. As I said, it is absolutely crucial for our race, because AJ Drifts has got a 3-second time penalty, and he's on very old hards. He's been on them since the safety car. So we have quite a lot fresher tyres than him. About 8 lap fresher tyres. And hopefully with the pace as well, we can actually do something. But right now, our mission is to stay within this DRS zone. You can see it went over a second. The DRS brought us back in again. Now it's gone up to 9/10 again. And we only have 17% of the ERS. So taking a nice wide sweeping line. We definitely got a better exit coming off this corner. You can see we gained half a second on the lead as well. So the race win is actually still on here. There is still a chance we could win this race. So if we can just stay in the DRS zone of Noah, and you can see again how much we're catching. See, 7.2 gap to the leader. Let's see what it is going to be the next lap. But it's gone down a second. So if we just get within 3 seconds and overtake Noah, then we could win this race. When I thought it was going to be pretty much almost impossible to win at this point. But we are absolutely hanging on for dear life here. I was just praying that these hard tyres would start to come to me. You can see we were under 10% at the end of that straight here. Coming off the exit again, still hovering over 9 seconds, about 5 seconds to the race leader here. Starting at 27 of this race, and we're going to dip under the 10% range. So both of us are pushing very, very hard here. But I started to feel like the tyres were slowly but surely coming towards me, and now we're actually a little bit closer. The gap is 3.9 seconds to AJ Drifts now, so the race is actually coming in our hands. The race win is right in front of us. If we can overtake him, then we have a chance of this race starting the penultimate lap of this race here. I think we're going to stay on board until the end now. So you can see we're gaining a lot of time down that straight. I think his red light was flashing here. So we just need to be as close as we possibly can. And I was just exactly trying to do that. I was just trying to put him underneath as much pressure as I could here. So the gap is about 6/10 of a second. Coming to the end of the steer straight. 3.4 to the leader now. Surely we're going to get within the 3 seconds. Being nice and close to Noah going through these sequence of corners, and this is definitely the closest we have been so far. The gap to the leader is coming down. All three of us are coming together now towards the end of this race here, and this again has been the closest we have been. So we just got to try and save as much ERS as we can, try and get a good exit. And now I felt that the hards were the slightly quicker tyre at this point in the race. So we have almost 30% ERS, quite a decent amount of ERS at this stage here, and I was sure that Noah was going to be slightly lower than me, but we are coming up to a ghost car of MPS FN, who's unfortunately disconnected. This is quite annoying for me because I want a clear line going through into this last corner, and it's going to be really hard to see this apex. I couldn't even really see this apex here, so I didn't get as good exit as I wanted. The leader 2.2, so this is the fight for the lead now on this last lap, and we've decided to go for it on this straight. We've decided to go for it. So he's defending, the red light flashing. What do? Do we let him have his corner? No, we don't. We try and go around the outside. Do we have enough room? Just about enough room. A very harsh squeeze there, but now we have a second dose of the ERS and the DRS. Let's see what we do. He goes defensive. This time we let him have the corner. But now we decide to go for the switchback here. And do we have the traction? Yes, we do have the traction. Going into the right-hander. What is going to happen here? Oh, we've had a repeat of what I had with LCR Leopard. And that corner has not been kind to me. But we're going to have a look at this once again. Going into this turn one, he goes defensive. Looking back at it now, I should have let him have this corner because he would have been compromised in the exit. But right about here, I'd say there was probably less than a car's width there, but he is the guy in the corner, so he does have the right to do the racing line, so that is fine in my opinion. So I let him have this corner. I try and go for the switchback, and you're about to see we are quite a way up his inside, but still he is the car ahead. But like a Hamilton Verstappen, you see, is there enough car racing room? I think there would have been just enough, but he did turn in a fair amount. But in my opinion, looking at that, I feel it was quite similar to the Hamilton Verstappen, where I was really scared of going close to the curb because it's an auto spin curb. So it's annoying, but I think it's really, really my fault in that case here. But coming through into here now, we still got a race on our hands. We still need to try and defend from the cars behind, because luckily Toro actually has a 3-second time penalty, but my tires are absolutely cooked at this point. I really need to try and get them up to temperature again. So the fight for the podium is truly on. As he tries to go down the inside, we just leave just enough room. We don't really have any of the battery power here, and we need to get this podium. We cannot afford to lose this podium in the first round of the season, as Noah wins the race because Adrift had that penalty. And then coming through here, we have to fight to the death coming up through here, and we just about survive to get this podium.
Yeah, that's my fault.
And that could have been so much worse, but I think quite a good recovery on that last lap. But overall, just let me know what you think of that incident. At the time, and really still now, I feel it's more of a racing incident / a little bit my fault. No, I was really scared to try and stay tight to the apex because you would just auto spin on that curb. He left me, it could have been just enough for a car's width, so he did squeeze me a fair amount, a little bit, especially on turn one. But I think looking back, if I allowed him to have that turn one, I would have gotten quite comfortably into the turn three. So it is what it is. I haven't done the stewards or anything at all. I think it's definitely more my fault / a racing incident. So it's round one of the season, and I have to say I absolutely love that. To have that kind of race returning to league racing again. No, it would have been nice to have the win, but there's a long season ahead. You can't have a good race all the time, and no, I just want to thank the league so much. They're truly an amazing group of people. Thank you so much for the support on my channel. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will catch you hopefully next Saturday for a live stream. See you then. Peace.